and we are rocking and rolling with Amy Boller and Matt Billis of Liberty Health Share. With everything that is happening in the world today, many of us are feeling a new low, a new desperation because our life is in everybody else's hands. So what can we do to empower ourselves today to continue with our goals, our visions that we have, regardless of what's happening in the world? Well, today we're going to be talking about that. So fasten your seatbelts because we're going to learn and grow together. It's time to dance, everybody. Time to dance.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and my viewing friends at facebook.com/Lillian's radio show. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Well, what does it mean to wake up? We're trying to live the life of our dreams, but it seems like the next verse is same as the first. We are in a panic mode. We are in need of toilet paper more than ever before. And I believe your dog just agreed with me, right, Matt? There's so much needs out there, and we're trying to stay focused, trying to stay positive, but every single one of us has a goal. Everybody has a need. But when you're going through some difficult times, it's really difficult to stay the course. But today, we're going to talk about empowering not only ourselves, but setting ourselves up for success in anything that we find ourselves at a disadvantage of. Perhaps you're in recovery, perhaps, and it doesn't matter what kind of recovery you're in, because it's all transferable. And so today we have Emily Boller. She is a certified in basic nutrition by Joel Fuhrman, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who has been a teacher in the classroom since 2015. And she has learned a nutritarian lifestyle. And today, by the way, start claiming your book, Starve to Obesity by Emily Boller. 3 people are going to get this. You need to let me know that you want a copy of this book. Your name will come on to your name every time you share, every time you put a tag there for somebody else that you like, and you say how much you like this. And but it's most important, tell me that you want the book, and your names, every time you do anything to promote this classroom, your name will be added. As many times as you do this, your name will be added. And 3 names will be selected in a couple of days, and you will potentially be one of the winners, but you got to do it. You got to do it. So today we're going to be giving away not only the book Starve to Obesity, but we also are going to be speaking to Liberty Health Share. As you know, Liberty Health Share is not only a sponsor, but I am also a member for the last 3 years. And I found out so is Emily Boller. And so I want all of you to start becoming aware of what needs to happen in order for us to take ownership of our life and create what we want. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Emily Boller and Matt Bellis are here to do just that. Welcome, guys, to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show classroom.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you. And we're going to go ahead and start with Matt. Matt, make sure your mic is on. And we're going to start with Matt. There we go. Want to make sure that we talk about how Liberty Health Share is doing throughout all this Corona COVID-19 virus scare. What is Liberty Health Share doing not only for their members, but also their employees?
Well, I have to start off and say I apologize if I break up a little bit. I have noticed our internet has been a little bogged down. Everybody being at home, they've got nothing to do but to scroll Facebook. So, but with this whole process of COVID-19, the virus and the pandemic and how we're dealing with this really is an anomaly out there in the world. And it's one of those things where it's been fascinating to see where you've had to have acts of Congress and the president contacting individual companies. Are you going to be able to take care of the issues that have brought about disease? And so we at Liberty Health Share have had to just say, that's not really an issue when it comes to healthcare sharing, primarily because this is something that's already been built into the system. Did I lose you there?
No, you just came back, but you just came back. Yes,
good.
But we could hear you. You were
okay,
just
good.
A little frozen.
A little frozen. Well,
yeah.
What we have done within Liberty Health Share is been able to build into this whole system where we have given individuals the freedom of their health and their health care again. And so we don't have the whole issues of trying to predict costs or go through actuarial tables or do what we need to do to make sure that we make special room for these types of tomorrow with LipShare, any kind of medically necessary item, whether that has to do with testing, whether that has to do with any kind of testing, treatment, or anything, those are eligible shared expenses that we have within Liberty Health Share. We don't have to make a special case for it or do any kind of special provisions. We don't have to get a call from the president saying, are you going to take care of your members? Because we already did, and that's what we have done since the beginning. So you start to see the inefficiencies and the inconsistencies and the bureaucracy as it pertains to third-party pay. This has been a little bit of a dark blessing because people are actually seeing that maybe I shouldn't be a part of a system that takes an act of Congress to make a change for. Maybe I should do something that empowers me as an individual to take control over my health care again.
Now, are you getting a lot of calls? Because I called, I think it was a couple days ago, I had a question, and when I was listening to the message, it said, Liberty Health Share is basically trying to protect their employees. And are you trying to have your employees work from home? Have you made any concessions for them as well?
We have some skeleton groups still meeting in the offices, but those
I am so sorry.
We've given the Chromebooks to, and we've been working with them to make sure that they can do what they need to do at home. So
that is a yes. So that is yeah. For some reason, hopefully the next time we come on, everybody will be off the internet because you keep freezing. But this is important. Okay, so let's talk about Liberty Health Share, because the last time you came on, Emily was so impressed that she decided to become a member as well. Let's talk about membership.
Shake your hand virtually.
Yes. Or no, we could actually do an elbow bump. There we go. we are actually practicing social distancing. so there we go. So let's talk about Liberty Health Share and the cost, because it's not just the cost, it's the service that you guys are providing as well. So let's talk about the cost for now.
Sure. With Liberty Health Share as an individual, if you were to join for our most comprehensive program, you could look to spend for your suggested monthly share amount $299 per month for an individual. $3.99 per month for a couple, and $5.29 per month for a family of 3 or more. That's mom, dad, all the kids. And so that's our most comprehensive program.
Oh, Matt.
Feel free. I just like to give what's most expensive, so people say, okay, that's at least the big portion that I need to take care of.
Yeah,
So,
that is. There are cheaper, and if you're younger than like 30, there's also a different cost, right, Matt?
Absolutely. There are options available for you if you are under 30, and there's a different price point if you are over 65. But if you want to look at those costs, feel free, go online to libertyhealthshare.org. Really find out what works best for you and what's a good fit for you as an individual.
Yes. And so Liberty Health Share, another thing I love about Liberty Health Share, because Matt talks about how we're neighbors helping each other, but this is beyond that. They are $1 million per incident. So if something happens to me today and something happens to me tomorrow, God forbid, but that would be every day would be $1 million per incident, right, Matt?
Yes, $1 million per incident for shareable expense. You know, that really means that if on Monday you break your arm, you get $1 million for that incident. On Tuesday, you break your leg, you get $1 million for that incident. On Wednesday, you have a heart attack, $1 million for that incident. On Thursday, you need to start questioning your lifestyle choices. You really got some problems.
You're talking about
yes.
mayhem here. Oh, every time we lose him. Okay.
Comprehensive program.
There we go. Can you repeat that again?
Yes, $1 million per incident for our most comprehensive program.
Most comprehensive, which is the $299, the $399, and the $529 for a family of 3 or more. And so, Matt, as we are looking at making choices for ourselves, what would you say is one of the biggest draws for Liberty Health Share? And I want to quickly sneak one in before you respond. I remember we were talking about open enrollment. And so once open enrollment was done, we kind of jokingly said, not for Liberty Health Share, people can join at any time. So what would be a draw for someone to step away from the typical third-party payer to opening up to learning more about Liberty Health Share? Oh my goodness, look at you.
I thought I'd bring it up just to make it a little bit more usable.
I love it. You've turned into a virtual monster. There we go. There we go. Yes. I love it. I love it. Okay, so what would you say is a great draw that's one, like the main reason people step away from third-party payer into health share?
Well, really, a lot of people are attracted by the price of Liberty Health Share and what it takes to be a member of Liberty Health Share. And I would probably ask you as well about what the draw was initially. But a lot of people, whenever they're a part of Liberty Health Share, they start to realize that this is not like anything else. This is a community of people. We're sharing medical bills with one another. My money's going towards somebody else, and I can go to
Okay.
But actually to another member who has a need.
Yes. And so Matt Bellis is with Liberty Health Share. I am also a member. Not only are they a sponsor, Liberty Health Share, you can go to 855 or call 855-58-LIBERTY. That's 855-585-4237. That's libertyhealthshare.org. Now, Emily, have you experienced Liberty Health Share yet?
Not really. We haven't had any major, we're new at it and we haven't had any major needs yet. So,
but how does it feel to know that you don't have to pay? Like I was paying so much money a month.
Yeah, it's so much. My husband's self-employed, and when you're self-employed, it's a lot bigger deal to have better pricing for that. And so, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So don't just take it from me, Emily.
No,
made the switch. It's
I just wish we would have got it years ago,
Yes, absolutely. Well, Matt, it is such a pleasure to always see you. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty. Next time we'll make sure the kids are not online. But is there any last words that you would like to say before you go? He's just going to wave goodbye. Marcel, here we go.
Love
We're
you.
just going to get out of your box there.
All
Okay,
right,
we're
we'll see
talking
ya.
to Matt Bellis of Liberty Health Share. That's 855-585-LIBERTY. That's 855-585-4237. I'm telling you, it'll be the best decision you make to just step away. If you don't like it, you could always go back. But this is absolutely a game changer for me. And so I want to encourage you to go to libertyhealthshare.org. Thank you, Matt Bellis, for everything that you do to bring awareness to all of us. Thank you. I think he's gone. I'm not sure. I am so sorry, Matt. Okay, so now we go back to Emily. Now, Emily, I'm just going to say thank you so much for coming on today, and how timely this has been, because many of us are feeling distress. And if we have goals, whether it's nutrition or not drink alcohol, not do drugs, or whatever it is always an excuse or exhausting, or I don't even know what other words I could use when our life gets upside down. And since you said that you're the queen of relapse, let's go at it. So thank you so much for being here today.
You are welcome. Well, it started, I lost about 12 years ago, I lost 100 pounds, and I kept it off for 4 years. And I was actually like on the Dr. Oz show. I was just out there and
Big
speaking.
deal.
Yeah, with this thin body and everything. Well, on Memorial Day 2012, my then 21-year-old son, he died by suicide. And I thought, I'm resilient. This isn't going to affect me. I'm going to keep going here. And I continued to, get through the funeral, and, I made healthy choices. And then I lost my appetite totally. And just the grieving of losing a child, and then to suicide on top of it.
Yeah.
Just so many
I'm
layers.
sorry. I can't even imagine.
Well, thank you. It was, during that time, it was suffocating. It really was. But I wanted to power through and prove that I was strong. I could do this. I could handle it. And I continued to make pretty healthy choices, along that time. But what started to happen was I started gravitating towards more lower nutrient food. And there's nothing wrong with eating whole wheat tortillas or popcorn or bananas frozen made into ice cream. Nothing wrong with those kind of desserts. Those are healthy food. But if you start replacing that kind of food, replacing your greens, if you eat a lot of vegetables, it shuts down your addictive drive. And so I started gravitating towards more comfort foods. I just didn't have an appetite for lettuce. I didn't have an appetite for broccoli and kale. And at that time, I should have reached out then for help, but I didn't. I wanted to prove that I was, able to handle this. And I went 18 more months, and then I hit a wall. And when I say I hit a wall, I mean, I could hardly get out of bed. I could not put on makeup. I could not, just basic household functions. I couldn't even hardly go to the grocery store. I would cry just randomly all the time. And I started to just self-soothe with food, because I had been taught as a child, that was my go-to. Everybody has a go-to of self-soothing, whether it's an addiction to just watching a lot of TV or watching movies or scrolling on Facebook 24/7. Whatever it is, we all have at different times created a way to self-soothe when we're in emotional pain. And so my default button was food. Comfort food. That's what I grew up on as a child. And, my self-concept, those first 13 years of a child's life are so important for developing those kind of coping mechanisms. And so I turned to food, unfortunately. And, I put on weight, and then the anxiety that goes with addiction, with a relapse. It is the shame. And, it's, if I can come across to anybody today, we've got to remove the shame of relapse.
Yes.
Because that's what prevents us from reaching out for help. That's what prevents us from telling someone that I'm struggling. We're ashamed. I know for me, one of the reasons that I had a lot of shame, I still do when I gain weight. I mean, I'm right now 15 pounds heavier than I was even this last Christmas, and I'll tell you that story in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much shame because our society is all into perfection, whether it's, oh, you can go to a party and drink just a little bit of alcohol, or you can, whatever it is, we want to show that we can handle it, that we can do it, that we don't have a weakness. And so, when I did gain weight, the anxiety caused me to want to eat all the more, just because, when I was 6 years old, I was put on my first diet. And my mom meant well. She's a very loving mother, but mothers back then were putting kids on diets. They didn't
know any better, Emily.
They didn't know any better, and they didn't have the information we have today.
Correct.
And so it just set me up. Every time I got weighed daily at 6 years old, if I gained weight, I got a goose egg. And if I lost weight, I got a plus sign on a chart. This was a daily weighing. And so you can imagine how that set me up for shame.
Yes.
Every time I got a goose egg and gained weight. And so naturally, that's what fed into my personal addiction and relapse, was the shame of not doing it right, not following. And the high nutrient way of eating is the really, how I don't even want to say the word perfect, because I'm very careful with using that word. We want to be.
It works for you.
Yes,
it works for you, and it works for many.
It works for many.
Yes.
And I found that when I was in this cycle of just being so embarrassed, I was on the Dr. Oz show at a certain weight, and here I was 15 pounds larger than I was on the Dr. Oz show, and I just wanted to hide, and that gained the weight. But anyhow, I eventually got into counseling. I was running away from the grief of my son's suicide. Not just the grief, but the trauma, the post-traumatic stress. There was layers and layers and layers, because he had a mental illness. He had schizophrenia. When he was 15, he was diagnosed with that because he had type 1 diabetes. He was diagnosed with that at age 11. And when he ate sugar, it would cause his brain to hallucinate and go into psychosis.
Yeah.
And so for 5 years, we just had, trauma after trauma after trauma and crisis dealing with his mental illness. And so by the time he died, there was so much buildup of unprocessed trauma that I had to deal with.
Sure.
And so Dr. Sovine was a counselor I went to. He's trained in, he's a psychologist. And we, in his office, dug through layer and layer of what was the root cause of what was causing my eating, what was causing me to turn to food. And I also went to a grief support group for parents who lost children.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a small group at our church, because I could not go to church, the big church, like a big congregation. So, but I could do a small group of people, and there were 6 of us, and they really, I say, nurtured me back to life during that time, because that's all I could handle. I couldn't handle big crowds of people, and I'm an extrovert. I'm not normally an introvert, but after my son's suicide and the shame with suicide and
There's double shame there.
It was. And so, I hid from people, but I found a safe place. I had a couple friends that were so safe to share with. And I eventually healed. And as I healed, the weight started coming off again. And I finished my book that I had started before Daniel had died, Starved Obesity, My Journey Out of Food
Which we're
Addiction.
giving 3 books away, so claim your book down below. Yes, yes, yes.
And actually what happened then is, I got the weight, I was getting the weight all back off, and I launched my book. I was out traveling again. And in January, just this last January, 3 months ago now, unfortunately for the situation, there was a 16-year-old boy at our airport. It was the busiest travel day of the season, January the 4th. We were dropping our son off to fly to California, and this is Fort Wayne, Indiana. And at the airport, there was a suicide happening, a potential suicide happening out in the parking lot. A 16-year-old boy, teenager, was out there in a car with a gun threatening to shoot himself. And so, of course, we got caught up in all of that, not knowing that this was all developing until we were at the airport. And then everything went on lockdown. They grounded all the planes. And my son, who is 21 now, my youngest son, who was only 13 at the time of Daniel, our 21-year-old son's death, he was up on the second floor of the terminal watching this all unfold from the parking lot. And when we went out, our car was parked close by to where this was all unfolding. The SWAT teams were there. It just re-triggered everything that I had not dealt with yet. There was just a lot of things of that day that just triggered. I went back. I had to go back to Dr. Sovine again. And one thing he said, he's a Vietnam vet. He fought in Vietnam with the draft back in the 60s. And he said that happened 50 years ago. Healing does not mean that you'll never be triggered again. And I thought that was so important for me or anybody. Just because we've had seasons of healing and we've had, where we're not being going back into our addiction, into the depression and the anxiety that triggers the addiction, we can have triggers that, cause us to relapse again. So I had to get extra counseling, and it's been a rough journey. I've had some healing, but it sort of brought up some other layers that I had not dealt with yet. And I'm getting through that. But I just want to really share, especially, we're going through a time globally here that just is heartbreaking. The loss we're experiencing, loss of income, loss of family members. I mean, this is just huge.
Loss of connection, loss of, there's so many things. And, you were talking about layers, Emily. And it doesn't, and by the way, we're talking about food addiction here, but you can insert whatever addiction you have. I must say though, food addictions, and there are other addictions that it's a part of our life. Eating is a part of our life. We don't have to smoke. We don't have to drink, although there is social pressure to you can fake that you're drinking. You can fake drink with a mocktail. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can work around it, but eating is one. The addiction of eating, if you relapse, everybody knows. Because you'll start gaining weight. But if you start drinking again, you can clean yourself up. Nobody's going to know. So it must be very, very difficult, first of all, to not only get rid of all the shame of the food addiction, but also get rid of the shame that perhaps maybe we failed as a parent, get rid of the shame that now I am not looking like I did before. I mean, there's so many different layers, and what layer you are able to pluck or get rid of is the layer that you're ready to get rid of.
Yes, that's absolutely.
When you were at this airport and there's a suicide attempt going on or a potential one.
He actually then completed it. So
Oh
it
my.
was, it was, yeah, it just the whole thing. My son heard the gunshot go off. I mean, it was, you know, it was a sad, traumatic for our whole community, our whole town. It was a traumatic because it was so public at the time, you know. So it triggered a lot.
I'm sure. So how do we, let's go from this moment, and I know that you're going to share some tips and what we can do so that if we do find ourselves relapsing, we get rid of the shame. First of all, no shame, no blame, no fault, no duty, which is part of taking responsibility.
Mhm.
And by the way, so before we do this, I want to let me have a little break here and talk about my sponsors and make sure that we get people to know that you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com, and when you're there, please like my social media, like all the my YouTube channel. While you're there, make sure you check out my sponsors like Liberty Health Share, which we heard about today. We have First Alternative Care, Keep Me Safe Organics, Dr. Stephen Grable, who will be in the classroom tomorrow, the pharmacy in Merritt Island, Live Longer Medical, Brain Tap, and also the ground therapy. There's so many different ways that they are taking a stand with the classroom, and I ask that you support them the way they're supporting the classroom. And so then I also would like for you to, if you can, give of your time, your talent, or your treasure. It costs money to run the classroom. So it would be very wonderful if you could become an enrolled student in the classroom and help us grow the class, whether it be your time, your talent, and your treasure. And so share the good news. Now today we're giving away 3, not just 1, but 3 of Emily's book called Starve to Obesity. And she talks about relapsing and the different things that she went through to set herself up for success. So today, if you want a copy of this book, make sure you comment below, I want a copy of the book, and then share and like. The more you share, the more you like, the more you tag somebody, your name will be added too. Some of you have done like 6 or 10, so those 10 names go in there. So 10 action items, and so that you can be sure that you get your copy of Starve to Obesity. Well done, Miss Emily. Okay, so let's go and let's talk about setting ourselves up for success, these tips. So go ahead.
Yes. One thing I want to clarify too, I never relapsed back to eating pizza and junk food. I was totally eating really healthy food. But what I was doing, I compulsively overeating. When I wasn't hungry, I would eat when I was, you know, just that's how I self-soothed, whether I was hungry or not. And so I was still eating quote unquote healthy food, you know, high nutrient plant food, but I was just overeating, and it was, you know, just a real thing. But one thing I made this little chart this afternoon. Oops, I'm sorry, I got it the wrong way. Can you see it okay?
Yes, yes.
I
Bring
just
it up
want
a
to,
little bit. Bring it up a
there
little
you
bit.
go.
Yes.
I just want to show something here.
By the
There.
way, Emily is an artist, and if you
Oh,
see
no, this isn't.
no, but if you look at all the pictures behind her, she created those beautiful pictures. So keep them.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to share, you know, okay, here we are. This is where we should be. As far, I call this the edge. This is the slippery slope. We've all heard of the slippery slope. And that's where you go down. Down in here is when we actually have relapsed. You know, we're stuck in a rut down there. But there's a lot of little safety fences we can put up here to stay as far away as we can from this edge.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we are, and one of those that are just known for any kind of addiction relapse is sleep deprivation. You know, if you've been in a crisis, a hurricane, a tornado, a sudden death, traumatic death, you are going to be deprived of sleep. And it doesn't even matter if it's a loss or not. You can just make some poor choices staying up too late every night. If you're chronically, sleep deprived, you're going to be back here. But
Love
these
that.
are just some things
No, this is
that
great.
that have just really shame is one, of course. We just covered that. That can be a safety fence. If we are ashamed a lot, that's going to be one of our safety fences that goes down, because if we start worrying about what everybody's thinking around us, that anxiety is going to trigger us to want to start whatever it is we go to self-soothe. Overcommitment is one. We don't know how to say no. And so what do we find ourselves doing? We're caring for everyone else, where our schedule is so busy. There's no time for exercise. There's no time for renewal. That's another little fence. These are all boundary fences that keep us safe. Boundaries keep us safe. One thing is just high amounts of stress. If we're in especially right now, there's this very stressful time globally. And so we got to be careful. We have find ways that are healthy ways to relieve that stress. That's not related to food, that's not related to drinking alcohol, that's not related to zoning on Facebook or watching movies or whatever. Some healthy ways are creativity. Keeping your hands busy. I say, idleness is the devil's workshop. With everybody stuck inside right now, it's easy to get idle, to keep your hands busy. Some of us may want to take up knitting or crocheting, or, every community now has a call, the hospitals, to make these face masks if you know how to sew. But doing something that's creative with your hands.
Or feeling like you're adding to or helping a cause.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then another thing is exercise. Make sure if you can get out to just even, run down your street for a little bit, some kind of fresh air and exercise. And if you have children and you cannot get out of the house, find ways. There's all kinds of things online right now. I've seen all kinds of Zoom classes and Zumba and all kinds that you can do online. So, get your kids involved, because it's good for them too.
Yes.
But, find healthy ways to relieve our stress. And sugar. Dr. Fuhrman, in his latest book, Eat for Life. Yeah, Eat for Life.
Which we got to meet at the event.
Yes, yes. But he said in that book that just eating two servings of fast food or commercial baked goods increases depression, the development of depression, by 51%. Most people eat more than 2 servings a week. So if you're eating 2 servings a day, your risk of developing depression from just putting all that sugar in your body, to putting all that junk food in your body. So I encourage anybody, especially right now during this time, to really get the sugar out of the house. It's good for everybody, not just the adults, the children, everybody. But these are all just safety things. But here's what happens. Okay, so we're over here and we start knocking these fences down, like, oh, I'm going to climb over this one. Yeah, I'm going to start staying up late. Oh, I'm going to knock over this one. I'm going to skip exercising. We start knocking down the fences, thinking that we're going to be safe. And you notice we don't just, everybody says, I fell off the wagon. There's no wagons to fall off of. You never just fall. It starts with all these little compromises way out here. And then all of a sudden, you have the big temptation. I just want that one bite. I just want that one bite that I know if I eat it, it'll send me over the edge. I want that one drink. I want to go back to that one, whatever drug you were using to self-medicate, whatever. And addiction is so much more powerful than our willpower. So once you start going over to this edge and you get 1 foot over the edge, you're going to just start going. And then that's the slippery slope. So this is what I want to talk about, is once we're in that, we've fallen to the pit, we're down in relapse here. This is where I want to really stress today, because if you can remember this is how to get out of relapse and how to recover, is just the word stop. S-T-O-P. And let me give you, to break that down, stop immediately. Don't start over tomorrow. Don't start over Monday. Don't start over when the coronavirus is over. Don't wait until January 1st. I'll start over. You stop immediately. Once you have that awareness that I have really fallen down the slippery slope, I'm in this pit of relapse right now, stop right then. Right then. And then T, S-T, T is for timeout. Take a timeout. Even if it's just 10 minutes, set a dinger for 10 minutes. Do not go in the kitchen. Do not, wherever it is that you're having a struggle with, your addiction. And if you have kids, go to your bedroom. If you don't have children, go out for a 10-minute walk so you're distracted. You're away from that temptation. We all can flee temptation. We just have to look for the escape hatch. It's always there. We never are forced into doing something that is detrimental to us. It's never something that's forced upon us. And then O, S-T-O, O is for orient. Orient. Just like when you're on a path in the woods and you're on a, you're winding through trees. Your compass is what keeps you oriented to the right place if you're still going north or not. And if you get off on a little side trail like with the deer or the animals make, pretty soon you're going to start getting all disoriented, and that's what relapse feels like. You're disoriented, you're off the beaten path. This isn't, you're eating things you shouldn't be, or you're back to drinking. You need to get oriented back again. And then the P is for plan. And we have to have clear paths, clear plans. If they're not clear, we don't know what we're doing. And so I say take 10 minutes to figure out what you're going to do the rest of that day. Don't worry about planning out what you're going to do the next month or the next week, but take 10 minutes to plan out how you're going to get through that next till you go to bed. And plan time that if you need to get a life coach, plan that you're going to schedule tomorrow to get a life coach scheduled, or a counselor, or you're going to call a friend. But take time to plan. I always say, that first year I lost the 100 pounds really relatively very quickly. I had these little laminated cards, and I wrote my food plan. It was the same. I interchanged the food, but it was, fruits, vegetables, and I had that everywhere I went. I laminated them. I put them in my purse. I put one in my car, everywhere I went. But if you don't have a clear plan, it's easy to it becoming ambiguous, and the lines start shifting, like, well, you start compromising. But yeah, just if you can remember, stop. That can help you immediately, S-T-O-P. And then, and know that setback is not failure. You're not doomed now to stay in relapse. Once you take that time out to get your head screwed back on, you're oriented again, then the next day is when you call the counselor to get set up with a time you can meet with your counselor or your life coach, or if you're in a support group, call them, say, I need to schedule a time that we could get together and talk. I need help devising a better plan, because you never want to be unprepared. Like for me with food, I always make sure I have my food prepared ahead of time, not to wait until the cupboards are empty to go to the grocery.
Not a good plan.
Have a plan. And that's with any addiction. Have a plan. And the more clear your plan is, the more you know exactly what you're doing. If you don't know what that plan is, and if you need help devising a plan, that's where you reach out for help to get that. But that has really helped me over and over, is, just to stop immediately. I used to have the mindset, well, I'm going to start over, when I was 100 pounds overweight. That was my mindset all the time. I'll start over on Monday if I blew a diet. I'll start over, next week, or I'll start over on January the 1st. What happens when you do that? We have these neural pathways in our brain. It just digs the rut of that addiction deeper and deeper and deeper into our brain. That's why you want to stop immediately. The quicker you can stop and use this, STOP, the quicker, you're not going to be digging that rut deeper and deeper into addiction.
Yeah, and it's easier to lose or release 1 pound at a time
Yes.
than it is to release 20, 30, 40 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's expectation too. When we are in a place where, and we see it on television, The Biggest Loser, they lost 200 pounds, they win a game, a year later, they're back to that beyond. And so it's the expectation that we're done,
Mm-hmm.
that this is, it's behind us. This will never happen again. I learned my lessons. But there is a purpose for relapse. There is a purpose for relapse. And I think that if we look at a failure, if we go there and we look at it as failure or shameful, then we fail to see the purpose of it, the layer from it. And so there is purpose for that moment where you relapse and fall off the wagon, as you said. Like you said, there is no wagon.
Mm-hmm.
We create it.
Mm-hmm.
We create it. And so with that, have you felt that every time you relapse, have you felt that you go back on your path quicker?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My relapses are quick now. I mean, and I want to clarify too, not everybody, like my husband, he has never had a struggle with food in his life. He's always been relatively thin. So there's a lot of people who probably won't understand with food,
But
like
it might be sex. It might be
porn.
alcohol.
Yes.
It might be porn. It might be,
right.
Yes.
Right. And so, I think we have to go and realize that when we go through these steps and get out of it, it's short-lived. My relapses now, like I say, I have to go quite a ways down the path of these little, put my son, I have to really be stressed out. Like when my son died, knock these fences down really quick. If you can keep as far away as you can from the edge, it'll even be better. But those times, I mean, life happens. We have tragedy. We have great loss. Houses burn down. Tornadoes happen, whatever.
Viruses and government
Viruses and government shutdowns, everything. And so, that's why when you get into that relapse phase and you go down that, it's easy to knock those fences down first up here. When we're up here safe, it's easy to knock those fences down if we're not wise. And then once we, go down that slippery slope and hit bottom, the quicker we can do the stop, S-T-O-P, the quicker we get back up here, get our boundary fences in place again, make sure we're exercising, make sure, we're doing all the things that help us prevent us from falling into that pit of depression. Depression and anxiety and addiction all are intertwined. They all go hand in hand. So my biggest priority in life is to prevent depression. To prevent depression. I do everything I can. I go to bed on time at night. I make sure I don't eat sugar. I make sure I get out in the fresh air every morning. I meditate, I pray, all those things that nourish me, so I don't go to that dark pit. Because it's just the way I'm made up. It's a mild depression, but still it creates me to want to binge eat.
And it sounds like to me what you're saying is know your triggers.
Exactly. And minimize them, as much as you can. We can't get rid of every trigger there is, but know your triggers, and then once you know them, to minimize them. And I don't watch I know this is really crazy, but I don't watch scary movies. I
Oh, neither
just
do
don't.
I. Why would
There's a
anybody
lot
want
of
to spend
people
time
who
doing
go
that?
into the movies and watch scary movies. It's like I wouldn't at all. It would just trigger too many things in me.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Well, that's great. I mean, I totally agree that, you know, people that to me, if I'm going to watch anything, it's going to make me laugh because it
Mhm.
is a scary world we're living in right
Yes.
now.
Right.
Why? And every thought we think, and this is what I say, every thought we think, we manifest into reality.
Yes.
Why would anybody want to manifest somebody coming back from the dead and eating you alive? I mean, like, why would anybody want to
I
do something like
know.
that?
And
You
then
know,
have nightmares. You know, one thing Dr. Sovine taught me too years ago, before all of this happened now, is to stay off news sites. He says, you know,
yeah.
see what the headlines are every morning. Just quickly, don't, you know, set a dinger, no more than 5 minutes, read the headlines. And then I think now it's important to read the headlines at night just to know, not before bed, but just to know, has anything changed, you know, but just to see what the headlines are. But don't camp out on the news sites. Don't camp out on the things that, and read every little story, because it would just create a dark hole. And for our mental health, we have to stay off of all the news sites constantly.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it is so important that we take our life back. Take our and for those of you who have been watching the classroom, we are talking not about so much the virus, the coronavirus, and how we could get infected and what would happen if we get infected, rather how to build your immune system. And so, you know, eating a nutritarian lifestyle, eating a lifestyle that is fitting for you, whatever that lifestyle is. I'm not here to preach that, but I'm here to say what works for me. Since it is the classroom that we're in, I
Sure.
will share Dr. Joel Fuhrman, Nutritarian Lifestyle, but I'm not 100% a nutritarian. I have my moments, but you know what? I eat well most of the time. If I'm going to eat something that is not, maybe something from my past, something comfort, and again, not what it used to be. It used to be like, I told you about that 5-foot cotton candy that
Yeah.
I ate on a cruise one time, and I ate every morsel of it. So, I mean, I was a sugar addict, and I didn't know I was a sugar addict, but now
Sure.
I look at my mom and I see how dementia has just ravaged her brain.
Yes.
And it's been just recently, Emily, and I'll share with all of you, having my mom with me, I loved every minute of it. But it drained everything in me. It
Mhm.
just drained, and I did it with so much love, and I need to replenish. And I think that those are the things that we have got to become aware of,
Yes.
these triggers. And I drew a chart too, you know, and so this is what happened to me after my mom left. You know,
Mm.
I needed to feel, and of course I don't have the talent that you do, but I am right there right now where I need to replenish love,
Sure.
spirit, mind, and body. We think that it's all about the food and it's all about our body. No, it's about our spirit and our mind as well. And
Yes.
Emily Boller, I am just so, I love having you in the classroom, and I love sharing
Yes.
this time with you. I want to encourage you, for those of you who, when you tag somebody, you need to put the @ in front of it. And so let them know that this book is available. Give it as a gift, even if you have it. And we're picking 3 names. So tag, let me know that you want this book, and 3 people will be selected to, you know, it's drawn out of hat. So the more action you take towards this, the more you will have an opportunity to win this book. And I'm going to let the people from Facebook and YouTube and podcast, I want all of you to share this information to empower yourselves so that you don't have to recreate the wheel. Emily Boller is sharing how to create it and how to create success. You know, self-sabotage is something we do really, really well. Don't know why, but we do it very well. And I'm so grateful to you, Emily, that you have gone beyond just hoarding it for yourself and teaching yourself how to be successful, but that you have taken a stand and you're saying, I will hold your hand through this. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. And you know, setback is never a failure. It's not failure. Setbacks happen, you know, and it's just we keep going on as quickly as we can.
Yes.
Agree with
And
that.
before, like when I was creating the class for today, I thought, let your setbacks become a lesson that will set you up for success. And you
Yes.
have done a great job, Emily. After the class, we're going to talk to the teacher's pet. So we're going to look at who's written anything that we can address. But for now, please like us, share us, and let us grow the classroom. Emily Boller, thank you so much. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love. Emily Boller and Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
Ever.
Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Disclaimer, and that's the reason why we have got to take ownership and responsibility for our own life. And the way you do it is by living within what feels natural for you. Sometimes getting out of your comfort zone will get you to that place where natural is more fitting for you, more inviting for you. So I want to encourage you to do everything you possibly can. So I want to thank Victoria for being in the classroom today, Linda, Marlene, Robert, Olivia, and thank you so much, Marlene, for being so supportive. I'm glad that you have this copy. I want to encourage all of you. And I know that people that are watching on YouTube and listening on podcasts, because we're in most all podcasts, I want to encourage you to also go and send me, whether it's a text at 407-373-5959. I want everybody to have an opportunity to win this little book that it's a good read, and it is beyond what most people have when they get started. That loneliness that you felt at the beginning, would you like to share how loneliness can keep us also from taking that first step?
I think when 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 you're lonely, when you start isolating, like when my son died, I went to the grocery and I dodge people I didn't want to see, and you create this isolation. You start withdrawing, and one thing about loneliness, once you start withdrawing from people, it's sort of like a domino effect. You keep withdrawing from more and more and more people, and to where it took me a while to want to be with people again. I had to do a lot of
And here
healing,
you are, an extrovert.
yeah, and I'm an extrovert, so that's how much this impacted my life. Is my personality even was changed in it, and with his death. And so I think loneliness, when we're isolated, we tend to gravitate towards our addiction, because community is what heals us. We get better in community. When we isolate, we get worse. And
Yes.
so isolation causes anything, whether it's addiction, depression, anxiety, to get worse.
Absolutely. And for those of you who want to learn more about Emily Boller, you can go to emilyboller.com. That's BOLLER.com. And now, do you offer coaching for people, Emily, that are needing help, or maybe a coach or someone that will help them with their addiction?
Yes, actually, it'll probably be launched here in June. I'm developing it right now. I'm gonna, I have to have a couple people to do some beta testing on it and
Mhm.
everything. But yeah, by June it should be up and running.
Yeah.
But
So stand
I'll
in
have
line.
it if anybody wants to be updated on it, they can go to my website and just subscribe to be on my email list, and I can send it out when it's ready and everything. Yeah,
Very
I do.
good.
I was doing one-on-one coaching, but yeah, we're gonna do
It
it.
takes up a lot of time. It
It
really
does.
does take a
And
lot of time.
I enjoy it, but it's like it was just a season there for a while. I need to shift gears here.
Yeah. And, and I think that that's so important for all of us to acknowledge. I love how when you're talking about your triggers, knowing that these are the things. Like, for example, if I am going to the gym in the morning, I'm an early riser. People wonder if I ever sleep, but I go to bed, in a timely way, and so that I
Yeah,
can get up early. Not always, but for
sure.
the most part, I'll get up, early to go to the gym or to work out or wherever it is that I'm going to do. But I know that if I don't take my clothes out, get my
Mhm.
shoes, my socks, everything that I need to get ready in the morning, I am not going to go work out. I'll say I want to, I'm going to try, but I have no intention. So
Mhm.
I know that truth about me. So if I know I'm going to go to the gym, I know I'm going to be taking out my workout clothes.
Sure.
So with that in mind, if you know that you want to stop an addiction, do you, Emily, confess it to the world? Do you keep it to yourself? Do you get a support group? What's the first step that you did that you said, I've got to release this weight?
Um, yeah, actually, back in 2008, I was just to a point of desperation because up until that time, I had tried everything. Even if I knew how to eat healthy, I knew all the information, but I couldn't do it. And I was in my friend's art studio, and I, got the epiphany to make an art exhibit out of it. So I actually put the art exhibit. I used my obese body as the canvas, and used food as the artistic medium, and made an online exhibit. And talk about accountability. Oh my goodness! Every month I would document, what my weight was from month to month. I would put on pictures from month to month. I would also, document my blood pressure, my cholesterol from month to month. And so, yeah, I had to. That's what really sort of to get out there, And even now, I mean, I would to keep going in this. For me, I've been doing this 12 years. It's an automatic part of my life now. It's a habit. This is how I eat. Like I say, I can still overeat and eat when I'm not hungry, and that's where I gain weight or
Mhm.
make choices of lower nutrient foods. But to be able to just have a time where you just like I'm gonna do this, and a lot of people, if they don't want to tell other people, they want to hide it and not really tell anybody. But I really think that's a mistake. And I'm not saying that lightly, but sometimes you need the accountability of others. And if you hide it, it's like, okay, I'm going to quit drinking alcohol, but I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to, get any kind of help. Well, then when you're in a temptation and nobody knows, hey, you're going to go back to it. So for me, I needed that accountability. And I think most people do, to be honest. I think most people need some sort of accountability, whether it's a counselor, a life coach, or somebody.
Yes.
I told the whole world that, that was me. But that was a radical step for me. But I was to a point, I needed to do something radical because I was sitting on a time bomb with my health.
Absolutely. And, I think that many of us don't want to acknowledge to ourselves that we have a problem.
Yes.
And it may be because we don't want to deal with the pain that that problem's going to bring. But here's the deal. We're going to drag that pain with us everywhere we go, like a 50-pound or 100-pound sack of potato. If we were to just open the bag and start
Mm-hmm.
taking everything out and start dealing with whatever is in there, it'll lighten the load. You will
Mm-hmm.
start, and then if you have an accountability partner, if you have a community that you can turn to, and I know, Emily, you're very active in Dr. Joel Fuhrman's community. Is
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
any other support groups that you are active in that you would like to invite people to come on?
Actually, that's the member center for me has been what has really helped me. There are a couple. I know Alicia Lee has one on Facebook. I think it's what is it? Eat to Live. I think it's called Eat to Live, or yeah, Eat to Live. She has like a Facebook group. There's all kinds of Facebook groups out there now that are accountable. The only problem with an online group, and this is just where I'm at, is after being on Dr. Fuhrman's Member Center, and it goes with any online, not just a member center, but Facebook, you cannot show up. You know, you can disappear and not post anything. You can just sort of go and we never see you again. Where if you're doing it face to face and you're actually meeting in person, you know, we get healthy in circles. You ever, you know, and when we're hiding behind our screen, it's easy to not show up and not to really be honest that, hey, I'm struggling, you know. And so I'm all for support groups. They're good, online support groups. But I do think there's something in a small group. I have some friends. I have a real good friend that I tell a lot of my stuff to, and, you know, she'll hold me accountable. And it wasn't too long ago, I was telling her something, and she, you know, asked me about it. But sometimes you need somebody like that. You can just say, hey, I'm struggling, you know, and not just disappear from online groups.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not just the now, it's what happens. I remember the first time I interviewed Dr. Fuhrman, and it was not it's not what we're eating today so much. It's what we ate today is going to affect us 20 years down the road, 40 years down the road. And I'm certainly seeing that with my mom.
Sure.
And it is painful to watch as you get older, you know, life does happen, gravity does hit and all those things. But on top of that, add diabetes, add heart problems, had high blood pressure, you know, dementia, add all those things to, as you get older, it's not pretty. It's not, it's scary. And it is, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, absolutely. I saw the same thing with my parents. They're both deceased now, but that's how it was. It's just emergency room after emergency room after hospital. You know, the last 20 years of their life, they didn't really live. Their whole social life was going to doctor appointments, you know. And you know, I want to say something too. You know, that first year on Dr. Fuhrman's Member Center, if I wouldn't have had that Member Center, I don't know how I would have done it, because nobody in my hometown at that point was eating that way.
Yeah.
And so I needed that support. And I was honest, and I would told everybody, and that's how I got help. And the reason I got help is because I acknowledged it and said, hey, I need help. But I've since seen a lot of people just disappear, you know, when they're struggling, they disappear. And it's like, we can't find them. It's like, where are you? You know, you're not posting anymore. What happened to you? And they're not there anymore. And so that's what I'm talking about, you know, just the whole.
Well, I'm sorry that you had to go through everything that you've gone through to get to where you're at. But just like, you know, I was talking to Brooke today, she's my assistant, and feeling like this right now, you know, feeling like this right now after, you know, loving on my mom and making sure all her needs were taken care of without the help, because nobody could come really. I had one person come and she was phenomenal. But when you have someone that needs round the clock care, that takes a lot out of you.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
so what I want to encourage all of you is to seriously, whatever addiction that is going on, be aware of your spirit, because your spirit, it's not just your body, it's your mind and your spirit. And whatever it is that is keeping you from taking that step towards closer to that spirit, you're not alone. You are loved, and you can do this. You can do this. Emily, you're a big cheerleader. Would you like to motivate someone that wants to do this but is afraid to do this?
I think number one, you know, you want to do it for yourself, but also, you know, your children. I mean, everybody around you wants you to get healthy. And I know it's scary to take a jump out of addiction to reach out for help, but it's like you will just feel so much better. And when you're wrapped up in addiction, you don't even know how bad you feel. And it just changes your life to get out of addiction, to walk in sunshine. you know, and I just encourage anybody right now who's struggling, that you can get out of it. That doesn't mean, like you said at the beginning, I'm out of it, I'll never have it again. It's something we have to work on daily, but it's worth working on daily and
Yeah.
getting free of it. To live in freedom of it
I love
is,
that. I
you
love
know,
that.
so worth all the whether you have to go to counseling, you know, whatever you have to do to get free, it's all worth it.
I love it. And you know, you came up with a acronym. I love acronyms. Every article I've ever written, I think, has an acronym attached
Yeah.
to it. And so as I wrote my help there, I thought, you know, there's got to be an acronym for help. If not, I'm just going to create one right now. And so you use STOP for your first word. You know, it's like stop, whatever you're doing, just stop for the S. And I'm just going to use help. You know, seek help. There's no shame
Yes.
in asking for, there's actual strength
Yes.
in asking for help. And then E, um, expectations. Like the expectation that, you know, someone's going to do this for you, or the expectation that I can't do this for me, or that what are people going to think of me? That expectation needs to be reframed to something that can help you. Not just because I could do E for exercise, but will that exercise help me deal with my expectations of what I should look like, or what I should be like, or if I ask for help, that somehow I'm weak. So, you know, reframing the E
That's
for
good. Very
expectation.
good.
So L for love of self. Don't, like you just said earlier, don't do it. Yes, do it for yourself, but do it for your children. Do it for, you know, but self-love, that is,
Yes.
you know, I've got the 90-day challenge to self-love. When people subscribe to my channel, I give that as a gift. And so the 90-day challenge to self-love, many people who are depressed, who are, as a certified life coach, I see it all the time, that disconnection to self can cause us to sabotage because we're not even caring for ourselves. But
Yes.
once we fall in love with ourselves, not in an egotistical or narcissistic way, but truly love ourselves like God loves us, then
Yes.
that changes a lot. And then P, and I said this earlier, and I just jot this down right now, so please forgive me if it doesn't make sense, but purpose. There is a
Yes.
purpose to whatever pain, whatever poison, whatever it is that's running through our blood right now. There is absolute purpose, but we've got to stop and look at this purpose, or whatever it is, as purpose, this addiction. Where can we use this for the greater good? And so, Emily, you know, you inspire me. You inspire me to look beyond, because I don't have, I would say, yes, I was a sugarholic, but I didn't have a problem, because I would weigh myself every day, because my mom is obese and I have an obese older sister. And so I didn't want to be like that. I didn't buy into the DNA. I didn't think that that was my fate, but I didn't know how I was going to do it. But who knew something as simple as eating healthy could be so delicious that could retrain and reformat our brain? And how wonderful that you are out there on the front lines spreading the gospel of good food.
Yes. Yes. And it's, you know, it changes your whole outlook. I mean, I used to, when I was 100 pounds overweight, oh my goodness, how hard that is. How hard that is. But it just changes. You want to do things because you have the energy to do it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, I want to encourage you, if you have this book already, and if you want a copy of this book, we're going to select 3 winners. So, you know, either say you want the book, tag somebody, you know, share the post, you know, like my page, do whatever it takes. And even if you have the book, you can give it as a gift, because it's to know you're not alone is so important. You know, they've done studies for people who are centenarians, and they couldn't isolate their nutrition. They couldn't isolate that they didn't have addictions. They couldn't isolate anything. What they could find and that they all had in common is that they felt that they belonged, that
Yes.
they were a part of a group. And so let's be a part of this group of responsibility. You can go to emilyboller.com. You can go to whenyouneedafriend.com. You can reach out to me. There's so many different ways that you can create your help. You can create your stop. You can create your own acronym for whatever it is, but just make it happen. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just do it. Emily Boller, thank you so much for everything that you do. And I'm looking forward to having you back soon.
Yes, thank you, Lillian. A pleasure to be here tonight, this evening, I guess.
Yeah. And so we're going to say goodbye now. Facebook, we'll see you. If I can just get to that. Wait a minute. Here we go. Bye.
Bye.
And YouTube. We'll